Let's be honest, Halo 5 isn't exactly remembered as a golden age of Halo. When people talk about Halo 5, they usually talk about the story, or the movement, or Spartan abilities, or how different it felt from previous Halo games. And honestly, a lot of those criticisms are fair. Halo 5 was one of the most divisive games in the franchise. But I think there's one thing people don't talk about enough, because hidden inside Halo 5 was one of the most ambitious multiplayer experience Halo has ever created, Warzone. And the crazy thing, I don't think we fully appreciated when we had it, because looking back now, Warzone wasn't just another game mode, it was Halo trying something genuinely different. And honestly, I think Halo is worse off without it. One thing Halo has always done well is scale. Big maps, big vehicles, big battles. But Warzone took that idea and pushed it further than Halo had ever gone before. Suddenly, Halo wasn't just 4v4. It wasn't even big team battle. It was 24 players, multiple objectives, AI enemies, boss fights, bases to capture, vehicles everywhere, and complete chaos. Every match felt like a battlefield. You could be fighting enemy spawns 1 second, then racing toward a boss spawn the next. Then suddenly a Scorpion rolls in, then a Warden internal appears. Then both teams completely abandoned what they were doing because a mythic boss just spawned. It was insane. And that's exactly why it worked, because Warzone felt unpredictable. One thing I don't think people appreciate enough is how alive Warzone felt. Most Halo matches have a beginning and an end. You spawn, you fight, somebody wins, game over. But Warzone felt like a battle that was already happening before you arrived. The second you loaded in, there were Spartans everywhere, Marines fighting, Covenant forces spawning, Prometheans appearing, vehicles rolling across the map, bosses entering the battlefield. It felt less like a multiplayer match and more like a war, which honestly is probably why the mode was called Warzone in the first place. Halo had never felt that large before, and I don't think it has since. This is the part people don't talk about enough. Every Warzone match felt different. Arena is amazing, but Arena is controlled, structured, predictable. Warzone wasn't. Every match developed its own story. Maybe your team dominated early, maybe you were losing badly, maybe a boss spawn changed everything, maybe somebody pulled out a legendary vehicle, maybe one player completely carried. The point is, you never knew exactly how a match was going to play out, and that's something Halo has struggled to recreate since, because Warzone created moments, the kind of moments people still talk about years later. Let's talk about the bosses, because this is one of the coolest parts of Warzone. Suddenly, Halo wasn't just about killing players anymore. Now entire teams were racing to secure boss kills, Warden internals, mythic hunters, legendary knights, grunts, soldiers, massive PvE encounters, and every boss spawn changed the flow of the match. Teams that were losing could suddenly get back into the game. Teams that were winning could lose control. Entire battles could shift because a high value target appeared. Looking back, this was years before PvPvE became popular in a lot of games. Halo was experimenting with ideas that felt much more common now, but back then, it felt completely unique. Looking back, I honestly think Warzone had one big problem. It came out too early. And I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. Today, PvPvE is everywhere. Some of the most popular multiplayer games on the market mix players and AI together. Entire genres have been built around that concept. Fighting other players, fighting the environment, fighting bosses, competing for objectives, all at the same time. But back in 2015, that wasn't nearly as common. Halo 5 was experimenting with ideas that players weren't really asking for yet, and because of that, I don't think Warzone got enough credit for what it was trying to do. Think about what Warzone actually was. 24 players, PvP combat, PvE combat, dynamic objectives, boss fights, resource management through the rec system, vehicle progression, map control, comeback mechanics. That's a lot. Honestly, it sounds more like something a modern live service game would launch with than a Halo mode from 2015. The funny thing is, If a game launched today with a mode like Warzone, people would probably call it innovative. They call it ambitious. They call it fresh. But because it was attached to Halo 5, I think a lot of people overlook just how unique it actually was. That's why looking back now feels so strange, because with the gaming industry eventually moving closer to ideas that Warzone was already experimenting with, larger battles, shared objectives, PvPvE encounters, dynamic events, massive sandbox experiences, those ideas became more popular over time, but Halo was already trying them years earlier. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons people remember Warzone differently today than they did back then. Looking back, I think this is what I miss most. Warzone made Halo feel alive. The maps felt active. There were things happening everywhere. Spartan fighting, Covenant attacking, Promethean spawning, vehicles moving, bosses appearing, objectives changing. The battlefield constantly evolved. It felt like you were participating in something bigger than yourself. And honestly, Halo hasn't really had another mode that captured that feeling. Infinite has amazing gameplay, but it doesn't have anything that feels like Warzone. Nothing with that scale, nothing with that chaos, nothing with that sense of unpredictability. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the rec system. Because if Warzone had a weakness, this was it. Some people loved it, some people hated it. And honestly, I understand both sides. The rec system created variety. It gave players access to crazy weapons, crazy vehicles, crazy moments. But it also created the perception that Warzone wasn't completely fair. Whether that perception was fully accurate or not, it followed the mode everywhere. And I genuinely think the rec system stopped some people from appreciating how good Warzone actually was. Because when people talk about Warzone, they often talk about recs instead of talking about the mode itself. I think Warzone Firefight might have been even better because it took everything people liked about Firefight and scaled it up. Bigger maps, bigger objectives, more enemies, more players, more chaos. It felt like Halo's version of a raid. Everybody working together, calling out targets, bringing in vehicles, fighting through waves, trying to survive. And for a lot of players, Warzone Firefight became their favorite part of Halo 5, which honestly says a lot. And this is where I think Halo Infinite struggles. Infinite has incredible gameplay, some of the best gameplay Halo has had in years. But when I load into Infinite, I don't feel the scale that Warzone had. I don't feel the chaos. I don't feel the unpredictability. Infinite has great combat, but Warzone had spectacle. Warzone had moments. Warzone had stories. And that's something Infinite never really replaced. And honestly, I think that's the saddest part, because Warzone disappeared and nothing really replaced it. Halo Infinite didn't bring it back. No spiritual successor showed up. No large-scale PvP PvE mode took its place. It was just gone. And now, years later, people are starting to look back differently. Because when Warzone existed, we focused on what it wasn't. We compared it to classic Halo. We compared it to Arena. We compared it to older games. But now that it's gone, we can finally appreciate what it actually was. An ambitious experiment, a mode willing to take risks, a mode that felt unlike anything else in Halo. The funny thing is, I don't think people want Halo 5 back. I don't think people miss Spartan Charge. I don't think people miss the story. I think people miss ambition, because Warzone felt ambitious. It felt like Halo trying to evolve, trying something new, taking risk. And whether you loved Halo 5 or hated it, I think we can all agree on one thing. Halo has never had another mode quite like Warzone, and honestly, that's a shame.